May 2025. RCMP officers stood at the edge of an abandoned copper mineshaft in Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia. The opening gaped like a wound in the earth, dark, cold, the kind of place where sound just disappears. They weren't there for historical preservation. They weren't there to study geology. They were there looking for two children. Lilly Sullivan, 6 years old. Jack Sullivan, 4. The kids had vanished from their home on a quiet May morning. Boots gone. Back door silent. No trace except a piece of pink blanket found a kilometer away, with no scent trail to follow. And now, days into the search, RCMP teams were descending into the earth itself. This wasn't the first time these mines had swallowed secrets. In 2002, the remains of Alex Penney were discovered in one of these shafts, 19 years after he disappeared. His case remains unsolved. 4 mineshafts searched. Dozens more scattered across the landscape. And a growing fear that the answer to Lilly and Jack's disappearance might be buried somewhere beneath Pictou County. If you want to dive deeper into the darkest true crime mysteries, hit that subscribe button now. You won't want to miss what comes next. Before we talk about the mines, we need to talk about Lilly and Jack. Lilly was 6. She loved the color pink, wore it every chance she got. Pink sweater, pink pajamas, pink boots. She carried a cream-colored backpack decorated with strawberries everywhere she went. Teachers said she was quiet but curious, the kind of kid who asked thoughtful questions. Jack was 4. Obsessed with dinosaurs and bugs. He wasn't fully potty trained yet, still wore diapers at night. He followed his big sister everywhere. Where Lilly went, Jack went. Inseparable. Both children were possibly on the autism spectrum. They were known to wander, to explore, to follow their curiosity without fear. On the morning of May 2, 2025, they disappeared from their home on Gairloch Road in Lansdowne Station. Their mother, Malihia Brooks Murray, woke to silence, no giggles, no footsteps, no voices. Just the realization that their boots were missing and the back door was open. At 10:01 a.m., she called 911. By 10:27 a.m., RCMP officers arrived to find a frantic household. The family had already started searching. Stepfather Daniel Martel said he'd been driving around and running through the woods for hours. His mother, Janie Mackenzie, was combing the property. But Lilly and Jack were nowhere. Within hours, the search mobilized. Ground search and rescue teams. RCMP police dog services. Drones. Helicopters. Volunteers from neighboring communities pouring into Lansdowne Station. The assumption was straightforward: 2 young children wandered into the dense Nova Scotia wilderness. Find them before nightfall. Bring them home safe. But as the hours turned into days, and the days stretched into weeks, the RCMP's focus began to shift. They weren't just searching the woods anymore. They were searching beneath them. The terrain around Lansdowne Station is unforgiving. Dense forest. Steep embankments. Thick brush that can hide a person 3 feet away. The RCMP knew from the start this wouldn't be easy. In the first 48 hours, search teams covered an 8.5 square kilometer area. They checked wells, septic systems, culverts, waterways, anywhere 2 small children could have ended up. RCMP police dog services brought in tracking dogs. The dogs were given scent articles, clothing, blankets, anything that smelled like Lilly and Jack. The hope was simple: the dogs would pick up a trail and lead searchers directly to the kids. But the trail went cold. On May 2, at 4 p.m., just hours after the 911 call, a family member found a piece of Lilly's pink blanket snagged on a tree along Lansdowne Station Road, about a kilometer from the house. RCMP seized it immediately. Brought the dogs back. The dogs should have picked up Lilly's scent. If she'd been there, they would have indicated. They would have followed the trail. But they didn't alert. No scent. No trail. Nothing. 2 days later, another piece of the same pink blanket was found in a trash bag at the end of the driveway. How it got there, no one could explain. By May 4, RCMP spokesperson Corporal Chris Marshall confirmed what the community had started to whisper: investigators were now searching abandoned mineshafts in the area. The shift was subtle but significant. It meant RCMP believed the children might not have simply wandered off. It meant they were considering darker possibilities. On May 8 and 9, the RCMP underwater recovery team was deployed. They searched 3 ponds and Lansdowne Lake, dragging the murky bottoms for any sign of the children. Nothing. By mid-May, RCMP had searched 4 mineshafts in the vicinity of the Sullivan home. Spokesperson Cindy Bayers told reporters in June, "We're working to identify and locate any others." The community watched as specialized teams descended into the earth, equipped with ropes, lights, safety gear. These weren't casual searches. These were dangerous, technical operations. And every time a team emerged from a shaft empty-handed, the question grew louder: where are Lilly and Jack? Have you ever explored an abandoned mine? What's the creepiest place you've ever been? Drop a comment below. To understand why RCMP focused on the mineshafts, you need to understand Lansdowne's history, and the case that still haunts this community. Lansdowne Station wasn't always a quiet hamlet of 100 people. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, it was a booming mining town. Scottish immigrants dug deep into the hillsides, extracting copper, iron, and silver from the earth. The Copper Crown Mining Company alone carved out multiple tunnels, following mineral veins that promised wealth. When the mining era ended, the companies packed up and left. But the mines stayed. Today, Nova Scotia's provincial database lists over 8,500 abandoned mine openings across the province. Pictou County alone has dozens. Some are documented. Others are forgotten. Hidden under decades of forest overgrowth, unmarked, unmapped. These aren't tourist attractions. They're death traps. Unstable structures. Flooded chambers. Vertical drops of 40 meters or more. Some have been deliberately sealed, but seals deteriorate over time. Others were never closed at all. For RCMP investigators, the mines represented a terrifying possibility. 2 small children, curious and wandering, could have stumbled upon an opening and fallen in without anyone knowing. And there was precedent. In 1983, a man named Alex Penney disappeared from Lansdowne. His car was found abandoned months later on a dirt road. No body. No clues. The case went cold. 19 years later, in 2002, amateur mineral explorers were checking out an old copper mine on private property when they made a grim discovery: human remains, deep inside one of the abandoned tunnels. DNA confirmed it was Alex Penney. To this day, his death remains an unsolved homicide. How he ended up in that mine, no one knows. But his case proved something crucial: in Lansdowne, people can disappear into the earth and stay hidden for decades. When Lilly and Jack went missing in 2025, RCMP couldn't ignore the parallel. If it happened to Alex Penney, it could happen again. So they brought in specialized teams. They cross-referenced the provincial abandoned mine openings database. They identified at least 5 documented shafts within several kilometers of the Sullivan home. And they started searching. RCMP Corporal Chris Marshall was clear in his messaging to the public: "We are exploring all avenues. No possibility is being ruled out." The mines weren't just a side theory. They were a critical line of investigation. And the search was only beginning. The first mineshaft search happened quietly. RCMP didn't announce it to the media right away. They didn't want to alarm the public, or give false hope to the family. But word travels fast in small towns. By early May, residents of Lansdowne Station were seeing things they'd never seen before: RCMP vehicles parked near old mining sites. Officers in safety harnesses descending into the earth. Search and rescue teams emerging hours later, covered in mud and exhaustion. The searches were methodical, dangerous, and emotionally devastating. Each mineshaft required a different approach. Some had wide, accessible openings. Others were narrow, requiring officers to rappel down on ropes. Some were partially flooded, meaning divers had to be brought in. Others had collapsed over the years, creating unstable rubble that could shift at any moment. RCMP wouldn't say exactly which shafts they searched, only that 4 had been cleared by mid-May. Inspector Dave Lilly, who coordinated much of the search effort, described the process: "These are complex operations. Safety is paramount, not just for the investigators, but for the integrity of the search. We can't afford to miss anything." The emotional toll on the search teams was immense. Every time they descended into a shaft, they were confronting the possibility of finding 2 small children in the worst possible condition. And every time they emerged empty-handed, it was both a relief and a frustration. Where were Lilly and Jack? In late September 2025, nearly 5 months after the children disappeared, RCMP deployed specialized cadaver dogs to the area. Inspector Luke Reddy and his dog Narc, along with Sergeant Dave Whalen and his dog Kit, covered 40 kilometers of terrain. These weren't ordinary search dogs. Cadaver dogs are trained to detect human remains, even trace amounts. They can alert to scent that's been buried, submerged, or hidden for years. The dogs searched the Sullivan property, the pipeline trails, the areas where pieces of Lily's pink blanket had been found, and the accessible areas near the mineshafts. The dogs never alerted. That meant one of 2 things: either the children's remains weren't in those locations, or they were somewhere the dogs couldn't reach, deep underground, beyond the range of scent detection. RCMP Staff Sergeant Matthew Cody addressed the public in October: "We remain committed to finding Lilly and Jack. Every tip, every piece of information, every search brings us closer. But we need the community's help. If anyone knows anything, anything at all, please come forward." The desperation in his voice was palpable. By November, search organizer Nick Oldreeve, who had coordinated grid searches across the wilderness, made a sobering statement: "I can't think of where they could have been missed in the woods. The most logical explanation is that the children fell in the water. But what about the mines? What about the shafts that hadn't been searched yet? What do you think is the most likely explanation? Wandered into the woods? Fell into water? Or something else entirely? Let me know in the comments." Here's the hard truth: not every mineshaft in Pictou County has been explored. RCMP confirmed they searched 4 shafts by mid-May. But the provincial database lists at least 5 documented mine openings within several kilometers of the Sullivan home. That means there's at least 1 that hasn't been publicly confirmed as searched, and likely more that aren't in the database at all. The problem is scale. Lansdowne was a major mining area in the late 1800s and early 1900s. The Copper Crown Mining Company dug multiple tunnels. Other smaller operations left their own marks on the landscape. Some were documented. Many weren't. Historical records from that era are incomplete. Some mines were dug by individuals, not companies, and were never officially registered. Others have been lost to time, overgrown by a century of forest growth, their openings hidden under moss, fallen trees, and dense underbrush. RCMP investigators have access to the provincial abandoned mine openings database, but even the government admits it's not comprehensive. New openings are discovered regularly when researchers visit sites or locals report them. Spokesperson Cindy Bayer stated in June 2025, "We're working to identify and locate any others." That statement alone is chilling. It means RCMP knows there are more shafts out there. They just don't know where. Each search requires specialized equipment, trained personnel, and time. You can't just walk up to a 150-year-old mineshaft and start exploring. You need safety protocols, structural assessments, backup plans in case something goes wrong. And some shafts are simply too dangerous to search. Collapsed tunnels, flooded chambers, vertical drops with no safe way to descend. RCMP has to prioritize, search the most accessible, most likely locations first, and work outward from there. But that leaves a haunting question: what if Lilly and Jack are in a shaft no one knows about? What if they're in a place that's not on any map, not in any database, a hidden opening that two curious children stumbled upon and no adult would ever notice? 8 months into the investigation, RCMP has been transparent about some things and silent about others. What we know: 4 mineshafts have been searched and cleared. RCMP has cross-referenced the provincial mine database. Cadaver dogs covered 40 kilometers of terrain and never alerted. Over 1,000 tips have been received. More than 8,100 videos from security cameras, dashcams, and trail cameras have been reviewed. 86 formal interviews have been conducted. Underwater recovery teams searched 3 ponds and Lansdowne Lake with no results. What RCMP won't say: exactly which 4 shafts were searched. How many additional shafts have been identified but not yet explored. Whether they believe the children are deceased. Whether they suspect foul play. In a statement released in October 2025, RCMP noted, "There is no evidence to suggest the children were abducted. However, we have not ruled out any possibility, including foul play." That carefully worded statement tells you everything and nothing. The Alex Penney case looms large over this investigation. It took 19 years to find him, and he was in a mineshaft the entire time. His remains were discovered not by police, but by amateur explorers. His death is still classified as an unsolved homicide. What does that say about how thoroughly these mines can be searched? Search organizer Nick Oldreeve's theory, that the children fell into water, makes sense on the surface. Pictou County has countless streams, ponds, and waterways. Children can drown in just inches of water. Bodies can be carried downstream, submerged, hidden. But the cadaver dogs would have alerted near water if remains were present. So where does that leave investigators? RCMP continues to follow leads. In November 2025, they released a statement asking the public for any information about a suspicious vehicle seen near Lansdowne Station in early May. They didn't provide details about the vehicle, just that it was of interest to the investigation. The case remains active. The reward remains at $150,000, one of the largest in Nova Scotia history. And the mineshafts remain a dark, unanswered question. January 2026. 8 months have passed since Lilly and Jack Sullivan disappeared. RCMP officers still patrol Lansdowne Station. Tips still come in. The investigation remains open, active, and ongoing. But the community has changed. Parents don't let their kids play near the woods anymore. Hikers avoid old mining trails. Every time someone walks past an overgrown shaft, they wonder, could this be it? Could this be where Lilly and Jack are? The Nova Scotia government continues to offer up to $150,000 for information leading to their location. RCMP asks anyone with knowledge, no matter how small, no matter how insignificant it might seem, to come forward. Every piece of information matters, Staff Sergeant Matthew Cody said in a public appeal. These children deserve to be found. Their family deserves answers. The mineshafts of Lansdowne Station remain one of the most haunting elements of this case. 4 searched. More waiting. And an unknown number hidden beneath a century of forest growth, unmapped and undocumented. What lies beneath Lansdowne Station? Are Lilly and Jack somewhere in that darkness, lost in a place no one thought to look? Or is the answer somewhere else entirely, somewhere investigators haven't even considered yet? The Alex Penney case proved that people can vanish into these mines and stay hidden for decades. His remains were found by chance, not by systematic search. Could the same thing happen again? RCMP won't stop searching. Volunteers won't stop hoping. And the community won't stop asking the question that haunts them every single day. Where are Lilly and Jack Sullivan? If you have any information about this case, contact the Nova Scotia RCMP or Crime Stoppers. And if you want justice for Lilly and Jack, hit that subscribe button and share this video. Every share could make a difference. Thanks for watching.